Okay, this is a continuation of the Serena Williams saga uh, in relation to the umpire that she disgracefully abused at the US finals. And if this is true, I don't think it is because unfortunately, I don't think the umpires have got a union. But hey, if this is an opportunity, this is an opportunity to set one up now, because you cannot be bullied or abused in this way by players. They must not be allowed to behave like this. They must learn to respect the umpire, and whatever decision the umpire puts down, then that's how it's followed. I mean, because today, there's so many cameras that have been, around. You've got the match official that umpires that you can go to question the situation, and yet Serena Williams decided still to bring this sexism nonsense. And I've been watching a few videos out there, and even some ex tennis players, female tennis players, are trying to say that men and women are treated differently on the tennis courts. Then I've said it before. Please, please, World Tennis Association or whoever it is, whatever you call yourselves, let's split the game up fully. Let the women and the men play separately at separate times during the tournaments. So 2 weeks for women if it's going to be a month event or whatever it is, and 2 weeks for men. And also, the umpires are only going to, if it's a female umpire, administrators of, sorry, umpires, female only games. Because it's nonsense. If Serena Williams is saying there's sexism in the game, you're not going to be able to weasel it out. I mean, supposedly subconscious or deliberate or not sexism in the game against women, then put female umpires. Let them do the judging of the women's game. See, the problem is Serena Williams is a really bad sport. She's a really horrendous and nasty person. The way she sat there, demanding an apology from the umpire. I mean, she said something like, "Go on, you owe me an apology. You owe me an apology. Apologize to me now." She's a child. She's a nasty, uncouth, demented buffoon. I'm telling you, I cannot stand Serena Williams. I've never liked her and her sister. Period. At no point. I've never felt any real pride about her at all. I don't care that there aren't any black female tennis players in tennis. I just don't care. Arthur Ashe, God rest his soul, was a beacon for black people. He was a great man, and he was. I mean, he never. I don't think if he did behave badly, I don't think it was anywhere near as Serena. I don't think so. Arthur Ashe, God rest his soul, in comparison to the way that she's behaving as a so-called person of colour, she should take example from him. But instead, she is behaving as the typical black woman, in America especially. Her behaviour is not acceptable, and she is not a role model. She can be called the GOAT, the stupid name that's come out for certain athletes. I won't continue, but if they want to call her a goat, by all means call her a goat. But the point is that her behaviour towards this umpire is disgraceful. The WTA, the Women's Tennis Association, to not see her behaviour as bad is incredible. Incredible. And to support her for her behaviour is absolutely ridiculous. When she came back from having her baby, she lost to this young girl. Okay, and the excuse was from her. she came back too early. Everybody could have told you came back too early. But you're Serena Williams, you know best. And you came back when you should have waited. Again, this girl comes back into the scene and whips her, literally, no, doesn't whip her up. She handed her fat ass to her. Serena Williams behaved as a bully. She is a bully. She needs to be seen as a bully. The video of the 2009 where she abused the female official, a tiny woman, doesn't mean that she couldn't defend herself. I mean, she looked at, she's Asian, so she might have a few moves, you know. But the point was, Serena towered over, and she was, you know, saying, "I didn't say I was going to kill you," but somebody apparently shouted from the crowd, said, "Yes, you did." But you know, she didn't say that. She said that she would throw, you know, shove. She would like to shove the ball down her throat. But the point is, Serena Williams has form. You know, she's a horrible person. She's not a good sports person. This kind of behaviour would not be accepted in rugby. You'd send off, if you spoke to the judge, literally, if you spoke, sorry, to referee, rather, red card, mate, you're off the pitch. You're off the pitch. You know. And then I've just seen one guy talking nonsense that she should never have been given it's never happened before. So what? It's happened today. Today, I mean, she got a points and you know, a match or whatever it is they took. You know, this is a guy he's 47 years of age. He's been officiating, I think, since 1994. Okay, he's been doing this a long time. Everybody knows in tennis that this guy is very strict. And a number of the players don't like him for that because he doesn't bend. He's not there to bend to their rules. They're there to bend to his rules. And he's there to officiate. People are saying that, you know, his job is not to get so much into this game, but to officiate the game. He got too much involved into this game. He didn't. He followed the rules. He caught Serena Williams' coach cheating. For the coach to suddenly say, "Oh, but everybody else does it." I mean, it's like when you get caught by your mother stealing something. Oh, but you know, the other brothers and sisters, they do it. They've been stealing. Doesn't matter. You were caught that day, and you have to take your punishment. The point is, the rule states that the coach cannot give coaching, and it was a warning. She didn't even get a point deducted. Nothing. She got a warning, and your coach is linked to you. You are a team. So just because you get 15 rugby players on the pitch and one of your team players does a foul on one of the other players, the whole team gets penalised. Even though you didn't commit the so-called crime, your whole team gets penalised. That's how it works. And, you know, she and the coach are a team. So, getting to this point here, disturbed tennis umpires consider boycotting Serena Williams matches and forming a union after a chair was hung out to dry by higher-ups. Now, the reason why they're doing this, and I fully back them to the hilt, is because of her standing in the game. I personally can't stand Serena Williams. I've never liked her from when her and her sister came onto the scene. You know, I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods had his problems a few years ago, and he's slowly coming out of that situation. But I don't remember him ever talking to umpires or behaving in a manner that was unruly. Again, I mentioned Arthur Ashe, the great Arthur Ashe. Again, although he was at a time when this kind of nonsense wasn't happening. McEnroe is responsible for this. He really is. McEnroe got, during his time of playing tennis, over $70,000 fines. So it's really, I mean, I mean, there's no point in going back to all the other male players, because for her to say that women get harsher sentences, or than the men, is nonsense. I mean, if you want to talk about sexism, why is it that in divorce courses, over 80% of divorce courses end with women having the children and getting a higher proportion of the money? Why? When you get some women who shouldn't be having the children and are clearly not good mothers and should be going, and if the fathers are asking to take the children, it ends up with I mean, there's a case where a woman ended up being given the woman, she was clearly a bad mother, and she ended up killing the children. So the point is that she's bringing up sexism, and I think a lot of guys do feel angry about this, which is important. This has got to stop. Women have got to, especially in this day and age now with this stupid Me Too nonsense. There's going to come a point when men are going to are going to say, you know what, we've had enough of this. Okay, men are going to say we've had enough of this, because the way in which women are coming into sports, women are, for instance, if you look at football, I don't like football, I don't watch football, I'm not interested in football, but football and rugby. The rugby union used to have a 15-a-side female team, which was fully supported and financed by the rugby RFU. Where was that money coming from? It was coming from the men's game that generated money. So this 15-a-side women's game was being supported by the money that was being earned by the men's game. Why? So when the RFU decided they were no longer going to fund the 15, but they were going to still carry on funding the women's sevens team, there was a small schism, an annoying, well, schism, but the feminists all came out of the woodwork shouting and screaming misogyny, that the RFU was being sexist to women and not supporting women, which is exactly, if you don't support women at any point, you are an evil person. And the RFU clearly said, look, we can't afford, we're not like soccer, where there are millions and millions of pounds in a game that is watched by a lot of people, a useless game in my sense. Well, no, it's not really a useless game. It's just the players. But the point is that the RFU doesn't have that kind of money to be able to support a women's game. The women have to work out on their own. If the women's game is that popular, it will survive. Those women will continue to play rugby. They will find a way. They will find the money. They will find the grounds. They will find the sponsors. Because really what it is, they're too bloody lazy. They want the RFU, the rugby RFU to do all that for them. When there was a time when, during my time as a youngster, many of the rugby players of the past and cricketers were played as amateurs. There's a photograph of Jeff Boycott, the great Jeff Boycott. And he was sitting in what was classed as a hotel in India. And it was absolutely abysmal. I mean, it was shocking. The light switch, you could see the bare electrics near the light switch. The bed that he was on was absolutely disgusting. I mean, it was terrible. And he was sitting there, and he'd taken either a picture of him or someone had taken a picture of him to show the conditions that he, as one of the cricket stars, the kind of place that he was being told to sleep in and eat in. It was shocking, absolutely shocking. So that caused something to be changed. We all have, there are things that people go through life, and sometimes you have to campaign and stand up. That's fine. That's not a problem. But where Serena Williams is concerned, there was nothing for her to stand up for. She's a rich, entitled woman in American society. She is whinging and moaning about sexism which doesn't exist. I'm very happy, but the unfortunate thing is, I don't think this is going to. Well, I hope it does, but because they don't have this union set up at the moment, it might be just talk. But I hope that this talk gets back to Serena, and if she starts opening her gob like she has been and say, "Go on and try it," I hope they do gather together, because I think some of the women as well, umpires, don't particularly want to umpire her as well. Okay, and this message needs to go out to the WTA and the US, which is USTA, which is the head of the USTA is a black woman, or I don't know. Yeah, I think she's a black woman, and she's a disgrace, absolutely disgrace. At the ceremony, the way she spoke, instead of being impartial, it was like you could hear that she was supporting Serena Williams in this situation, when it should have been about that young girl. Serena Williams is horrible. She's a nasty old hag, and unfortunately, she sounds like she's going to be carrying on playing until she's until she's 40. But I hope, but what will happen then? She'll get beaten properly, consistently, and start really falling down the flanks until we don't hear about her again, and then she retires. I mean, she needs to retire now. To be honest with you, she needs to be retired now. She's a joke. So let's continue. Let's go through this, because yeah. So I think she needs to retire. I mean, she clearly, having this child has, not, particularly helped her. But she needed the excuse when she lost to Naomi before, and but let's have a look. So this idiot from the USTA president, Katrina Adams, was among those rushing to Williams' defense and casting aspersions on the umpire, suggesting that he would have allowed men to get away with similar behaviour. You don't know. You don't know whether he would have allowed. He wasn't officiating on that day, and you need to provide evidence that he would have done that, and you need to provide evidence that he has done that before. This woman, Katrina Adams, needs to be removed as president. She's not. She's supposed to be impartial, and she's clearly not behaving as a president of an association should be. So she needs to be removed. Whoever the president of the WTA, they themselves need to be removed. They need to be impartial, and they need to have a much more measured approach to and see both sides. Although, to be honest with you, it is difficult to see both sides when really it's only one side that you can really see, and that is of Ramas. He clearly behaved in the correct manner as a proper professional that he is. Serena Williams was a complete and total crybaby. She acted worse, I suspect, than her daughter, who she's going on that she's doing this for her daughter or nonsense. She was the baby today. Sorry, on that day. The WTA also seemed to back her claim that the penalties were sexist in a statement, although the ITF sided with Romas 2 days later, one of the most experienced and respected umpires in tennis. They should have reacted much more quicker than that. It should have been within a day or the same period of time as the USTA and the WTA. They should have reacted at the same time, but it took 2 days. But as they say, better late than never. Several umpires who spoke on condition of anonymity told the Times that they were considering boycotting future Williams matches. It would be nice if they could do that, but I don't think it will happen because they haven't got a union. They haven't had one before. But I think the behaviour of Williams, and the thing is that the problem is that these guys are frightened. Suddenly, sexism is being brought in. If you umpire a woman and you don't umpire exactly how she feels that you should umpire, you could lose your job. You could suddenly say you're a sexist and you're going to lose your job. This is nonsense. You can't be humiliating people like this. The simplest solution would be to say men officiate men's matches, women officiate women's matches only, and then there won't be any problem. Okay, that's the way it's got to be done. And let's see if Serena Williams is still playing in the next year or 2 or 3 years, how she reacts if a woman. I mean, probably a lot of those women who will want to do this similar to Romas will not do it. But in 2009, Serena got kicked off court because of her behaviour to a female official, and the umpire was a woman. So she eventually got kicked off, which is great. Several umpires, although the umpires have no union to organise such a boycott, that may change. Well, I hope it does. Come on, you need this union. You can't allow people like this, these entitled dimwits of IQs of -70, talk nonsense. You just can't allow it. It's just still on. The behaviour was absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. One of the 3 violations called on William was for racket abuse after this so-called, I'm not going to call her after she smashed her racket on the court in reaction to losing the game. Bad sportspersonship. You're a bad loser. Plain and simple. You feel you know more than the official who is administrating the game. Another violation landed on Williams for verbal abuse of the chair umpire during the match. There is a lot of unhappiness in the umpiring community because no one is standing up for officials. One senior umpire told the Guardian, which is absolutely correct. There was nothing wrong in what he does. I mean, look, she did get fined 17 grand. I think that was not enough because she got 3 violations. She should have been fined more. But this is the thing about this is I think Ramos has given an interview where his friend has said that for some reason or somehow the feminist movement and the African American communities have suddenly now taken up this so-called champion cause. And if this guy had been walking around the streets of New York and some black, I don't know, probably black women had seen him and a few black manginas had seen him, they would have gone after him. You know, if the feminists had seen him as well, you know, these white females, they would have gone after him. So this is what has made it a little bit, they feel uneasy about. You know, when it comes to John McEnroe and all these other guys, there isn't anything because there's nothing behind this. You know, they get abused by these male players and whatever, and it's very much done after the tournament is finished. This keeps on, has kept on going on because Serena Williams, one of the protected minorities, a black female, has been supposedly massively slighted by an umpire who followed the rules. He's supposed to be the man in charge of that match, not Serena Williams. Umpires keep asking, what if it was me in that chair on Saturday? There is a widespread feeling that Carlos was hung out to dry for nearly 48 hours and that no one is standing up for officials, the official said. Several umpires are privately pushing for an official union, the newspaper reported. Please, just do it. Sort yourselves out and get this union set up. Because the players have got it. I think certainly the male players have got it. The head of the, I think is his name, Dokovic, is the head of the players union, and quite rightly so. I mean, Martina Navratilova bitched a year or so ago when the men's they decided to have a union meeting amongst 100 of the top players in this hotel, and they drop kicked everybody out, all the press, anyone they didn't want in there, everybody was out, so it couldn't be recorded. And so Martina Navratilova said, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be bringing the women in as well and having a discussion with them. We should be there all together." You know, so women absolutely hate it when the men do something and they feel and they get left out. They absolutely hate it when men organise things for themselves. Women don't like it. They don't like it at all. I saw a video of a feminist talking to, forgot her name. It's a white Canadian woman. She's quite young, and this lady was outside. It was a couple of years ago, and both of these women, the woman in question was holding a mic, and she was in a dress, full ball gown dress, and she had the mic up to this feminist, rabid-looking bitch who said that this building that they were having this party in is full of men, and I don't like it. It's like, so what it says is that men cannot gather or must not be allowed to gather in anywhere, especially in America, must not be allowed to gather in anywhere in to organize anything at all. I mean, it's incredible that universities, this is another example of universities, can have a black union, can have I think they can have, they can have a black union, a Muslim union, a women's union, fraternity, or whatever it is. I don't know if they've got an Asian. I think they've got an Asian because, Chinese and Indian association, or whatever it is. But they're not allowed to have a white union, a white association, under no circumstances. So if a group of white men and white women want to say we're going to have a white union, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is the kind of political nonsense that we live in today. We know that the Ku Klux Klan, we know of the issue of that, but not all white people were Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan was about 4 or 5 million, maybe 10 million people in America who did have a lot of influence. They were, and they were allowed in the 30s to walk down Washington. But those days have gone. They're not allowed to do that anymore. They're not allowed to be the kind of evil organization that encouraged the burning of crosses on people's homes. The killing of the young man Emmett Till was of the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. But that's another story. As I said before, please set up this union. You mustn't be allowed to be bullied by players. You're there to officiate. And if they don't want umpires, then you all go out on strike, and then you have to play your own tennis without umpires or with people who are not really qualified to play. And then what are you going to do? One source familiar with the discussion said several umpires are privately pushing for an official union, the newspaper reported. One source familiar with this discussion said umpires don't have any independent means of representation and are employed by the governing bodies. If talking to the media is not allowed and governing bodies are speaking out against them, what are umpires supposed to do? Absolutely exactly. So you see, the governing body employed them. They've got them by the short and curlies. And they're saying to them, you're not allowed to talk to the media at all. Yet you get dumbass Serena Williams shouting and talking complete nonsense at a press conference, and he's not allowed to defend himself. The fact that Ramos spoke with a journalist about the situation, I think it was another paper, that was got in contact with the WTA and said, "Oi, do you know that your umpire is speaking to the press? Do you know that it's against the rules?" So this debacle might, I hope, bring out some good. A union will be set up so that if the players behave in a manner that is unacceptable towards the union and are really abusive, because then if they do, because at the moment they just do exactly what the governing bodies tell them to do, and they don't have any say. So if they get massively abused and threatened by these players, they have no input in what they can say should happen to these players. And the reason why the players can behave the way that they do is because they know that these umpires don't have a union behind them, so they abuse them anyhow. If they had a union and then they say we're not going to officiate anymore, I think there's something happen like this in football when the umpires, the referees had enough, and there was threat of boycotting football matches up and down the country. They need to do that. This cannot continue. You can't abuse people who are there to officiate a game, and when the decision is made, you're not happy with it. If you've got an issue with an umpire, make an official complaint through your team that you're not happy with this particular umpire, and it will be dealt with by their particular, referee association or whatever. Taking it out on the pitch or on the court at that time at the umpire, it's not wrong. He's there to officiate the rules so the game is played. Okay. And so let's go through. There she is, talking nonsense as she consistently does. Ramos has spoken out to say, "I'll be fine," after two major governing bodies of the sport seem to support Williams in her claim that his calls against her were sexist. Again, as I said before, whoever those governing bodies, the head of, they need to be drop kicked out of there. They need to be removed. Here we go. Umpires are forbidden by contract from speaking out to the press, but one retired ump was able to voice the views of his brethren. The umpiring fraternity is thoroughly disturbed at being abandoned by the WTA. That's the Women's Tennis Association. Richard Ings, a retired elite gold badge umpire. And this is what Ramos is as well. He's an elite gold badge umpire. They are all fearful that they could be the next Ramos. Is it Ramos or Ramos? Well, let's just call him Carlos. They feel that no one has their back when they have to make unpopular calls. Exactly. The guy is sorry, I'm just looking at something that looks quite pleasant on the right here. What is this one showing off for eye propping cleavage? Yeah, anyway. Yeah. So let's have a look. Yeah. So Ramos, who is Portuguese, broke his silence on Tuesday in a brief interview with Portuguese publication Tribuna Expresso. While unable to comment specifically on the Williams incident, he said it's a delicate situation, but umpiring a la carte is something that does not exist. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. And then you go through. So the point is, she was given. It says we will go through this. Serena Williams was handed a code violation when her coach appeared to make gestures to her in what the umpire said was off-court coaching. Now, even if she said she didn't see it, which is nonsense, because she said, I saw the thumbs up. Well, that might be the case. She was clearly looking towards him. She saw the thumbs up, which she said, which obviously people could see from the video of him. He looks like he's saying push forward or push back or whatever it is. So yes, she clearly was looking at him, and yes, she saw his thumbs. Maybe she thought it was, the thumbs up because of where his hands were, and that's fine. But the point was, she was looking at him. She saw him. Ramos saw this, and they were caught. So it says here that he appeared to make gestures to her in what the umpire said was off-court coaching. Serena told the coach, I didn't cheat, before the game continued. I mean, the thing is, there are decisions that the referee makes. When I was playing rugby, there were times when there were calls made. You would go to go up to the referee and say, excuse me, can you explain that call, please? Because I wasn't sure. And there were times when he would say, I've made the call, get back in the game, or you'll be sent off. So what did I do? I got back into the game and accepted the decision. I wasn't happy about it, put it to one side, and you get on with it. That's how it works. If you look at many rugby players, and the reason why I say rugby is because I'm an ex-rugby player, played the game, and I've seen the way in which players respect the decision of the umpire, of the ref. And you see big guys, 6'2", 6'3", will be looking down on a small guy, and this guy is giving out the rule book to that player, and that player says thanks very much and walks away. That's it. When it's explained to you, it's done. You move on. So Yeah. So I think anyway, let's continue. So she said whatever. A few games later, Williams smashed her racket after losing a game to go 4-3 behind. This led to a second code violation, and her opponent was given a point. So, what's the problem? You smash your racket. Yeah. Um, you can't smash your racket and then expect nothing to happen. All these rules have been brought in over the years, specifically, I believe, because of John McEnroe's behaviour back in the day. And remember, back in the day, in the early 80s, when I was watching as a young lad, for John McEnroe to be saying and fronting the ref in Wimbledon and with his attitude, it was like, what? And that was back then, mild compared to what they do today. But these rules were put in because he was the prime reason, because of John McEnroe. And now what we're having today, many of the certain things that have happened, rule changes because of Serena Williams. John McEnroe has been fined over $70,000 over his career for loads of violations, his temper, his behaviour. $70,000 is not small change. So, if that's the case, doesn't it show that the men get punished just as much as the women? And listen, a few games later, so she lost that game. This led to a second code violation, and her opponent was given a point. Williams then went on a bizarre rant in which she called the umpire a thief, and you are a liar, which I think is absolutely incredible. If you call the umpire an idiot and you're stupid, and your decisions, like I think Andy Murray has done, to be called stupid, or to be called that was a stupid umpiring decision, that is acceptable to a degree, mildly acceptable. But to be called a thief, I would take umbrage with that. I don't care what anybody says. And then you're called a liar. Nobody likes to be called a thief or a liar. And then you say that to an official. You will never, and she states, you will never be on a court of mine as long as you live. So she's now she's making a statement that this gentleman is not going to officiate her ever again. This gentleman, who is her senior, he's 47 to her 36. She's talking to this man in this disgraceful way. She's telling him that he will never be on a court of hers. I hope that happens, because I hope, but way back before that time, she will be retired. She'll be out of the game. She is an absolute disgrace for her to come out with that comment. And then, when are you going to give me my apology? She's just an absolute child. And listen to this. Oh, this is one of the things that I find really unbelievably grating. Say you are sorry. That's what a bully says to somebody. Listen to this. You will never be in a court of mine as long as you live. When are you going to give me my apology? Say you are sorry. Wow. Is she talking to a 5-year-old? Say you are sorry. Who's been naughty? I mean, this is a joke, surely. This resulted in another code violation, and her opponent was awarded a game. Of course she was awarded a game. Of course she was awarded a point against her. This is absolutely outrageous. Outrageous. Serena Williams believes that she has massive power. But that's the reason why she's behaving the way that she does. I'm Serena Williams. I'm the most powerful tennis player in history. You're not. You are the most powerful women's player in history, not the men's. Okay. If she had to play 5 sets, she'd get her ass handed, a big ass handed to her by the guys. It was when she was small, younger. Her and her sister challenged a guy who was in the 200s, and he whipped her, whipped them both. So she gets beaten by a 20-year-old girl who's faster, fitter, looks much more in shape as a tennis player. Look at what Serena Williams. I mean, she just looked ridiculous. Pantomime, wearing that stupid tutu, and she's saying, you know, sexism is being played here. I mean, look at the cat suit she wears. Oh, she's tried to. Now the French Open has said she can't wear it. They're saying it's a disgrace that they're discriminating against her. What she's wearing is ridiculous, and I would have made exactly the same call as the official has. It's ridiculous. Women say that men sexualize women, and yet look at the way that Serena was wearing this cat suit. Her backside is about 10 foot to the east and to the east of her hips. I mean, it's just ridiculous. She just looks absolutely ridiculous in this ridiculous cat suit. And they said, no, you can't wear it anymore if you want to come and play here. This is clearly misogyny against women. Williams called for the tournament ref as she cried on court. No further action was taken, and the ref left the court. I mean, she just stood there bitching, moaning, bitching, making out that this kind of call wouldn't have happened if doesn't happen to the men. Why are you bringing the men into this? What's this got to do with the men? This is the match that you're playing. It's got nothing to do with it. This is the reason why I say we need to separate the women's game from the men. Clearly, what we've seen today is that men cannot be allowed or will not be able to officiate a women's game without being called their sexual any decision they make will be called into question. It just clearly shows that women will really never accept a male official on a pitch, because I don't know, they clearly will go against them because they're women. So yeah, so let's continue. Williams went on to lose the match 2-6, 4-6, and continued to stew on court during the prize ceremony to heckles from the crowd. An on-court interviewer had to order the crowd, no, it wasn't, to stop booing until Williams regained her composure. She then also called for the jury to stop and congratulate her opponent. You're the one, you idiot, that caused the problem in the first place. You're the one that caused the problem because of your disrespect and your behaviour. It's incredible to me. I would just like her to retire now. I think she's wow. You know she's just utterly ridiculous. Yeah, there's nothing more to really say on that. Yeah, so let's see if we can pick up some comments on here from people. Oh, no, we can't. Sorry, let me just go back. Always get my, because unfortunately I've got rather fat fingers, so It's difficult for me to move things up and down on the screen. But anyway, my opinion is that Serena Williams is not a good role model. I think I think she needs to reevaluate herself. I do hope, please, the judges do form a union, and anytime this kind of nonsense occurs, they go on strike, and then the players will then hopefully start respecting the umpires more, because it's going to get worse, and if she's allowed to continue with this, so it has to stop. She can't be allowed to continue and bully people like this. This is just disgraceful. So yeah, I've commented on several times. I hope that this union does get set up, and so that they can stand up and fight for themselves, because obviously the Women's Tennis Association is not willing to do it. The USTA is not willing to do it. It's an absolute disgrace, and those two people who are in that association, or who, if they're the heads, they need to step down, because their behaviour in this is just unbelievable. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hey, please subscribe and pass this on for other people to listen to. Thanks very much.